Hey YouTubers, it's me, Lonnie Clark, Nuts for Art, and I want to thank you for joining me. And this post is not actually going to be about radioactive contamination. I really just wanted to use my venue and my platform to, I guess, rant a little bit because of the pain that is going on in this country due to the shutdown. When Trader Trump was elected, I called him Pinochet 2.0 on my radio show. I split a gut because I knew there was something sneaky about his entire election. He didn't even look like he wanted to be elected. But this business about the wall, this is unbelievable what he's doing with the wall situation here. Reasonable people realize that a physical wall does not deter, will not stop most of the things that he says he wants to stop. But my big thing is that he's actually a batterer. He's a violent batterer. And as many of you know, I am a child abuse survivor. And one thing I know about batterers is you cannot back down from them. And you have got to stand up to them. And this business about him walking away today and he could give a crap about any of the workers. It's funny because they're talking about the 800,000 people that are employees in government. But what about the 3 or 4 million people on food stamps? I venture to say that if somebody needs to get $200 worth of food stamps or $150 or $50 a month in food stamps, that means a lot to them. A lot, as much as a paycheck. So it's just as painful. And I think it's unconscionable that none of the Democrats are talking about this man being an abuser. He beat his wife up, his first wife, Ivana, pulled chunks of her hair out. It was in the newspaper when it happened in the mid-'80s. And he paid her $1 million because he beat her up so bad. And I actually think he still beats up his wife. I think he has intimidated his wife and pushed her around enough that she's scared of him. In fact, I think he's a fucking bully and he's pushed around everybody else around him and intimidated his entire staff. I mean, he is a typical abuser, a violent man who is abusive. And as it turns out, it looks like he snorts his Adderall, which makes him even more abusive. I don't know how anybody could support him. He has not done good for our country. He has destroyed our reputation, harmed everything that has been built up in the last 60 years. And I actually get a huge kick out of these people that think he's fighting the deep state. That is just unbelievable. He was put in by the deep state, folks. The deep state plugged him right into the White House so that he could do what they wanted him to do, which was open up Anwar, open up the pipelines, chop up Medicare and help for the poor, essentially, and what he's doing right now. And actually, if you don't realize it, but this shutdown is going to cost us billions of dollars already. It costs money to shut the government down. We have a big, gigantic ship, and because he has let's face it, he's bankrupted his own companies. Every company he's ever had. He's cheated every person he's ever worked with. There isn't anybody he has treated right. Nobody, not one person, not even his own kids. It's just beyond comprehension that the Democrats are just allowing this lack of conversation to go on about the guy is using the wall. Oh dear, the old NSA, because the algorithms, I guess, even though it's on private, they're listening to what I'm saying. It just stopped. He's using this wall as a gun. And his target is the poorest people in America and government workers. And you know why? Because we elected Democrats. Because now the Democrats are going to hold him accountable. In fact, today he basically told Mueller's office, fuck you, I'm not going to answer another question. And they hired 14 attorneys today. So you think he's not nervous? I mean, we are literally watching Rome collapse around us. And that's what's happening. And I don't know if there's any saving this country, actually. I don't know what's going to happen, because we get people in the deep state that believe every little mouthing word that comes from Fox News. I get people telling me that Donald Trump's actually done good for this economy. No, he hasn't. He's been riding the wave of economic recovery that was built since 2008. And in fact, all of it is just a big fat sham, because there is no real thriving economy anywhere, because we have polluted our planet so badly that if we're going to clean it up, there's not going to be profits. It has to be people over profit. And that has to be the mantra, which they'd rather just kill us all. And in fact, I think we actually are their targets. They are killing us all. And I said earlier, this wasn't going to be about radioactive contamination, but all of our lives are about radioactive contamination. Let's just face it. We have geoengineering and radioactive contamination. Between those two things, our children don't have a chance in hell unless we really decide that we're going to get involved in this. And I don't know what that means. I know I still do call and poke my elected officials. And frankly, I think they should stand firm with Donald Trump and not give him one dime for the wall. Fuck him. We don't need a wall. What we need is, how about let's just do this one thing. How about if we enforce the $1,000 fine for every undocumented worker that gets busted at a job site? How about we have enforcement going into places where they know they hire them? The chicken processing companies, the cattle processing companies, the what do they call them? The industrial farming complex, where all the workers are, all the undocumented workers. Those farmers, make those farmers pay $1,000 per person fine. I saw a guy on CNN saying, oh, this is really hurting us. The immigration thing is hurting us because we need those undocumented workers because Americans aren't willing to do it. Some big fat farmer talking about how they were suffering because undocumented people are no longer coming to the States. Well, that's been the trend since about 2000. They've stopped coming to the States because they see the writing on the wall. But what really blows me away is there's not one bit of enforcement on the $1,000 fine per worker to the employers who hire. In fact, this is the outrage of Donald Trump. He's actually being sued right now by undocumented workers for not paying him. They have, at Mar-a-Lago, he has hired undocumented workers. The president of the United States has hired undocumented workers. Period. Worked for Melania Trump. They knew he was illegal. They were illegal. He knew. Melania and Trump knew that these people were illegal, or should have known, because they couldn't speak frickin' English. So the president of the United States has hired undocumented workers and wants to build a wall supposedly to stop undocumented people from coming in. And actually, the wall has nothing to do with the so-called crisis. The crisis at the border is because he refuses to acknowledge the asylum laws. And again, why are people coming up here from South America and Central America? Because of the policies of the United States government. Because our government in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and even into the 90s, upended covertly through the CIA their burgeoning democracies. People wanted democracies. And what did the United States do? We trained their military leaders at the School of Americas and taught them how to torture people. And so when those democracies were taken over by military juntas and military coups, and masses of people died, and then the people rose up and insisted that they needed democracy. So they've elected people and they're rebuilding their democracies. Those leaders that we trained to become military leaders are now running drug cartels and frankly working with the CIA. All of this is like public knowledge. None of it is hidden. None of anything I'm saying is without fact behind it. And it is just unconscionable that we have a president of the United States who is allowed to hire undocumented workers, who's using building a wall as a weapon to harm the most vulnerable people in our society, who basically walks out and gives the finger to elected officials and has no interest in governing whatsoever. It's unconscionable. And I want to know what it's going to take to get Americans to start demanding that their government function. And all these people, well, your vote doesn't count. You know why the vote doesn't count? Again, I'm going to say this again. And actually, our votes do count, because in this last election, we turned the tide to progressives. The House has more women, more people of color. We have a more balanced government. So this is the point here with all you people who hate our government. When you say, oh, it's not going to work. Well, the fact is, what are we going to have if you want to throw it out? What types of government do you think we're going to get if we don't have a democracy? If you don't stand up for democracy and participate in democracy, what kind of government are we going to have? We're going to have what Donald Trump wants. We're going to have an oligarchy where the rich people tell the poor people how to live. And we have to say, thank you, sir. May I have another cup more, please? Please give me another cup more. And thank you for not invading my household so that I can live in peace. Thank you for not, knocking my door down and threatening my children. It's unbelievable. I mean, it is unconscionable that the political parties are not talking about the battery and the outright lies of the Republican Party. And Mitch McConnell, oh my God, the guy's a fucking traitor himself. He participated with the Russians. That's why he takes Chinese and Russian money all the time. I mean, the neocon liberal agenda, the neoliberal agenda from Alan Greenspan's, and neoliberal does not mean liberal. It means neoliberal, meaning the rich people rule. There's no social services. Everything is privatized. Nothing is run by the government. Everything is run by private property. And the rich people tell the poor people how to live. That's the neoliberal agenda. Economics rules the show. So which means if you don't have money, you don't get a voice. The dumbing down of America, right? So right now I don't know how much of a crisis we're in or what they're going to do about it. But I do know people who live on food stamps, who when their food stamps are not going to be placed, when their DBT cards, people on disability, when they're not going to get their $200 a month on the 10th of this month, which is, I think, tomorrow, they're going to be seriously hurting. Their children are going to go without food. And will Donald Trump care? His entire cabinet ought to be put in jail, in my view. They are all criminals, from Mulvaney, the acting whatever he is. It's just unconscionable that mainstream media wants to pretend like these people are not all criminals. It's just unconscionable. And for real, Donald Trump is not fighting the deep state. They're not holding him back. They're not challenging him. He is doing exactly what he has been told to do. They hired him because he's a fucking narcissistic batterer, because they knew he would bully anybody if he got him in the right space. And he responded like a little lapdog right to Fox News. He was about to sign in this coordinated deal that really didn't get us any closer to fixing jack shit. I mean, it's the games that are, it's not even games. It is murder, frankly. And it's just unconscionable that people defend Donald Trump. Really, literally defend Donald Trump. And what's really weird is the way the whole mainstream media and even the government, like they act like Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis, is not a crazy fucking lunatic. We're living in a society where we have zero control over our military, which is worldwide, folks. The deep state is the industrial military complex, and they are planning the vision for 2020. And it is going on. And that's what this is all about. That's why they needed Anwar. That's why they need a nuclear waste. That's why they want all of it. And what's our options? I don't know. Make YouTube videos, post out. I called my senators all today, frankly, and told them, you know what, you hold out against the batterer, because he is a batterer. And if you give into this, it's going to get worse, much worse. We're going to see military police on the street if you give into this guy. One thing I do know about batterers is if you give into them, they start punching you harder. If you try to comply with them, they punch you harder. They don't get easier on you. They get worse. And this guy is going to get worse if we don't stop him. So I am encouraging every American to stand up against Donald Trump because he is completely a lunatic. He is a narcissistic batterer with power. And he right now is using the wall as a weapon, as a gun to harm the weakest in our society. And I think those of you that are living in red states, you need to be objecting to your elected officials and saying this is not conservative values. There's better ways to go around this. We spend billions of dollars, trillions of dollars. The people he's appointing to all of these agencies are completely incompetent. Rick Perry, who only has a degree in husbandry, is running the Department of Energy. He didn't even understand what nuclear waste really was. Fuck's sake. Anyways, I'm going to end here, but I just had to get this out because I am spitting nails that people are not talking about what a violent abuser Donald Trump is. And how this wall issue is just him, boom, 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 punching America in the face. The rich people in Washington, all those elected officials, they still get their money. They still owe millionaires. They're not hurting. It's going to be the people who go without food stamps that are going to be really hurting. Even the workers, excuse me, even the workers that live paycheck to paycheck, they can get by another 2 or 3 weeks. They probably have food in their house. But we're talking about the poorest of the poor here, not being able to buy their top ramen, for fuck's sake. I'm ashamed to be an American, frankly. It's shameful. And the only way we can stop being ashamed is to, excuse me, is to stand up and start doing the right thing. Hold on, let me mute this thing because I have got to cough bad. Okay, sorry about that. I'm not going to edit it out. Anyways, I guess the point of this message is for us to stand up and stand up in love and stand up in unity and not be afraid of the batterers because love is greater than fear. And if we stand up together in love, we can defeat this guy. We can change the minds. If we all put our minds together, we can change the minds of our elected officials and force them, I think, energetically to cooperate together. So if we start putting our minds together if we meditate on that idea that our Congress is going to work together for the benefit of the good, instead of us constantly focusing on how corrupt it is, we need to constantly focus on them reversing course, changing their minds, deciding to work for the benefit of our planet and the benefit of our people, and focus on that and put that positive energy out there. Yes, while we're being slaughtered like lambs to the fire. Yes, but really we're at a point where we don't have any other choice. It's either we are going to believe in ourselves or we're just going to lay down and let the fucking truck keep running over us. And I'm not willing to lay down. So anyways, put your courage feet on, you guys. And by the way, any nasty, snotty notes in here, they're all just going to get deleted and you're going to get blocked. So don't even bother. If you don't like this message and you think Donald Trump is a great guy, you can go suck his cock anytime you want, but stay the fuck off my channel. Anybody that likes Donald Trump doesn't belong on my channel. I'll just tell you that straight up. I think I have thought the guy was an evil bastard since the mid-'80s when I heard him on the Howard Stern show refer to teenage girls in a beauty pageant as objects, as the goods. That tells you who Donald Trump is. So if you like Donald Trump, get the fuck off my channel. And how's that for love? I'm very clear. I do not want anybody who is going to support a batterer on my channel. And if you're a batterer and you have changed your life and you have stopped abusing people, you can stay. But I mean, I should probably make another video about domestic abuse because I sure know the fuck a lot about it. And the way to stop a batterer is not to comply with him. It's to stand up to him and stand firm. And that's what we need to do, you guys. So put your courage feet on. Let's make this, let's be the people that we know we are. Let's have some integrity and some honor and just stop refusing. Silence is complicity. So as long as you're silent, you're complicit with the abuse. So I hope these words resonate with somebody, and I'm going to leave you in love. And for those of you that think Donald Trump's a good guy, I hope you get therapy. Talk to you guys later. Ciao.